Ethan and I once had a brief romance. At the time, I was abroad, and I thought he was just an ordinary international student. Seeing how handsome he was and how good his figure was, I impulsively pursued him. After 6 months of a shameless relationship, I finally discovered that he actually came from an extraordinarily wealthy family. He was also notoriously known in his circle as a commitment-phobe. So, I hid the truth of my pregnancy and proposed that we break up. After confirming with me multiple times, he lowered his gaze and nodded. Fine. Then we'll be strangers if we meet again. Yet we still failed to become strangers. 4 years later we met again. He was the renowned second young master of the Lewis family, and I had become his cousin's fiancée.
Welcome to listen to my full sweet love series novel. I'm the blogger and I'm Twilight's novel. Now let's start the main story.
I met Ethan while studying in Melbourne. At the time, he and his friends had gone to the Great Ocean Road to see the sea. I was sitting bored on the beach and took a liking to him at first glance. Ethan's appearance was far too striking. The lines of his profile were clean and sharp. The curve of his long lashes falling was sharply alluring. The sea breeze lifted the hem of his shirt, half concealing and half revealing the line of his waist, indescribably seductive, making it impossible for me to look away. I thought, this is probably what love at first sight feels like. In a moment of impulsive excitement, I ran up and stopped him. Interested in making a friend? Ethan turned to look at me, raising an eyebrow slightly, a layer of surprise floating in his eyes. What do you want? He asked me. People tend to be particularly unrestrained when far from home and family. I answered him bluntly. To see if there's a chance to develop into boyfriend and girlfriend. His friends around us started teasing. Ethan coughed unnaturally twice. Looking at the QR code I pulled out, he hesitated for a moment before adding me as a contact. Then let's get acquainted first. Ethan was not an easy person to pursue. After adding me as a contact, he never paid me any attention again. Even when I awkwardly found excuses to chat with him, he would just leave the messages on read without replying. It was only then that I belatedly realized he had no interest in me. That day he added me. It was only to save my face in public. So, I gave up the idea and stopped contacting him. The second time I saw Ethan was at a school mixer. He was standing quietly to the side in a well-tailored white shirt, his aura cool and ascetic. I actually spotted him immediately, but since we weren't exactly friends, I didn't go up to greet him. Throughout the mixer, I stuck close to my senior brother. I kept feeling as if a certain gaze was vaguely resting on me. When my senior brother accidentally spilled wine on my dress and was frantically trying to wipe it off, I found the source of that gaze. It was Ethan. He was pursing his lips as he looked over, staring at me unblinkingly. His expression not very pleasant. On my way to the restroom, a hand suddenly reached out and pulled me into a corner. Ethan leaned down, looking at me with those long, cool eyes, asking in a low voice, "Weren't you saying you wanted to develop into boyfriend and girlfriend? Why today, when you saw me, it was like you didn't know me?" His tone carried obvious displeasure. Even now, when he was clearly angry, his face was still strikingly handsome. As he spoke, his Adam's apple bobbed, adding a touch of allure. I tilted my head to look at him and asked curiously, "Ethan, are you jealous?" He paused slightly, lightly biting his lip, not denying it. I couldn't help but laugh. "But you need to have the right to be jealous. What's your position now?" His face gradually paled. He stared at me through gritted teeth, the hand gripping my wrist tightening. I stood on tiptoe until our noses touched, lowered my voice and asked him, "Then I'll give you another chance. Ethan, interested in being my boyfriend? I'll give you 3 seconds to think about it." 3, 2. Before I could count to 1, looking at the lips so close in front of me, I impulsively leaned up and kissed them. I had only intended a light touch. I forgot who lost control first and started advancing, conquering territory. He pressed me against the wall, cupped the back of my head, entwined his lips and teeth with mine, kissing fiercely and urgently. Even that agreement was muffled amidst our mutual panting. He said, "Sophia, let's be together." I think what I felt for Ethan was probably a physical attraction. Every time I saw him, I always couldn't help wanting to get closer, to demand more. But Ethan was clearly different from me. He was extremely ascetic and restrained. Even when traveling with me, he insisted on booking 2 rooms. If I hadn't been able to feel his reaction during kisses, I would have almost suspected he was impotent. The day our relationship changed was his birthday. I specially booked an ocean view room and lounged in his arms watching a movie. Halfway through the movie, I took off my outer coat, revealing the bunny girl outfit underneath, and pulled his hand to rest on the round bunny tail. At that moment, I clearly felt Ethan's breath catch. But he didn't refuse. He just lowered his eyes and let me proceed. So, I grew bolder, grabbed his collar, and nibbled on his Adam's apple. Then lifted his shirt, tracing his waist and abdomen carefully. Ethan's physique was as good as I imagined. His pectoral muscles were well defined, his abs tight and firm, his waistline was streamlined. But his self-control was just too strong. Even at this point, his chest heaving violently, his body burning hot, he remained unmoved. Wearing the bunny ears, I looked up at him. "If you don't like it, then I'll leave." After saying that, I lightly bit his abs and gracefully got up to leave. Just as I was about to turn the doorknob, he could no longer hide it. In 2 steps he walked over, his powerful arm wrapping around me from behind, biting my shoulder, his voice hoarse as he asked, "Sophia, are you doing this on purpose?" Deliberately teasing me, then deliberately saying you'll leave. How can a person be this wicked? That night, Ethan finally tore off the mask of sobriety and restraint, tangling with me until dawn. Ethan and I dated like that for half a year. We went to the Pink Lake in Western Australia, Sydney's Hyde Park, Tasmania's Bruny Island, trembling in each other's embrace in hotels. I always felt that an ideal partner couldn't be more than this. But when I joyfully posted a photo of Ethan and me on my social media, a comment underneath made me freeze. "Sophia, you're amazing. Actually hooking the second young master of the Lewis family from N City." Studying abroad can temporarily mask class differences. Although Ethan wore luxury watches and designer clothes, I had always thought he was just a slightly wealthier ordinary person. I never imagined his family wasn't just rich, but powerful to such an extent. It was a wealthy dynasty I had only read about in novels. If it were just that, it might have been okay, but Ethan was also notoriously known in his circle as a commitment-phobe. And when I learned this news, I was holding a pregnancy test in my hand. It showed 2 lines. A little over a month ago, Ethan had been too rough, and the condom had torn. I immediately took emergency contraception, but unexpectedly, I still got pregnant. I didn't know if he truly despised marriage as the rumors said, so that evening, I tentatively asked him, "Ethan, today I passed by a bridal shop and saw a wedding dress in the window that was especially beautiful. Speaking of wedding dresses, when do you plan to get married?" He didn't like this topic, his brows furrowing tightly. He only replied with one sentence, "I don't want to get married." "What about children?" "Don't want children either." Ethan, hearing this, frowned even tighter. "No." Logically, this topic should have stopped right there. But I still couldn't let go. I wanted to try once more, so I asked him again, "Then if someone got pregnant with your child, what would you do?" After a moment's hesitation, he told me, "I wouldn't let anyone get pregnant with my child. If it really happened, then it would be aborted." He obviously didn't want to continue this topic. He walked over and skillfully embraced me, lightly pecked my lips twice, then the color in his eyes gradually deepened. I knew this was the prelude to his arousal. We had always been compatible in bed, but this time, when he picked me up, I stopped him. "It's not very convenient today." It wasn't inconvenient. I just didn't really want it today. I had gone to the doctor for a checkup before. The doctor said my constitution was special, making it extremely difficult to conceive. If I aborted this child, the chance of getting pregnant again in the future would be almost zero. I had shallow familial ties since childhood. My parents passed away early, and I always hoped to have a child of my own. Ethan was good-looking, emotionally stable, and highly intelligent, suitable to be the father of my child. After thinking for a long time, I decided to keep this child. But as for my relationship with Ethan, I thought if I wanted this child, we probably had to break up. I would bear the child, I would raise it. That way, I wouldn't be in his way. The day I proposed the breakup was the day before returning home. Ethan was packing his luggage while planning arrangements for after returning to N City. N City summers are very humid and hot, so we'll rest in the hotel in the afternoon and come out in the evening. I'll take you to Nanluogusyong, then passing by Diamond Avenue, by the Bell Tower and Drum Tower, and go to a bar in Ho Hai to listen to music in the evening. I interrupted his murmuring and spoke the words I had been holding back for a long time.
Ethan, let's break up. He froze for a moment, his movements pausing. What did you say?
I bought a direct flight ticket to Sea City for tomorrow. I'm not going to End City. Also, we're breaking up. Someone like Ethan had probably never been dumped by a girl.
So, facing the breakup, he was persistently demanding a reason from me.
There were many reasons for the breakup. For example, I was pregnant with his child, and he didn't want children. For example, I was dating with the goal of marriage, and he didn't plan to marry. Also, for example, our family backgrounds were too disparate, destined to be mismatched. But I couldn't explain any of these reasons to him.
Under his repeated questioning, I steeled myself, closed my eyes and told him, "What if I said I got bored? Is that reason acceptable?"
Bored. I nodded. Yes, bored. Like a lychee, it looks white and sweet and tempting when you peel it. But once you eat too much, it becomes cloyingly sweet.
The anger in his eyes intensified. He reached out and gripped my shoulders, gritting his teeth. "Sophia, say that again." I pretended to be nonchalant as I looked at him. "What?
After sleeping together so many times, haven't you gotten bored yet?" That day, Ethan stared at me for a long, long time, as if trying to see through me. When the sky began to lighten at dawn, he asked me again, "Are you serious?" "I'm serious." So he said nothing more, silently watching me shoulder my backpack and pull my suitcase.
Just as I reached the entrance hall, he gave a light, cold laugh and asked me, "Sophia, do you have no heart?
You were the one who said you liked me then, and now you're the one saying you're bored. Am I just that cheap for you to play with?"
He lowered his gaze, his eyes slightly red, the knuckles of his hands turning pale, as if he was about to shatter. My heart softened inexplicably in that instant, but before I could respond, I heard him say, word by word, earnestly,
"Sophia, I wish I had never met you.
If we meet again, we'll be strangers."
In the end, he didn't say a single word to ask me to stay. I pursed my lips and nodded gently. Okay. Then I pulled my suitcase out the door and boarded the flight back to Sea City. We broke up cleanly. All contact methods were thoroughly deleted. After returning to China, we were separated by thousands of miles, south and north. I never heard any news about Ethan again. He completely disappeared from my life. 8 months later, I gave birth to Noah. Noah was a very easy baby. He didn't cry much, was very independent, and didn't need too much care. His face shape was like mine. His features resembled Ethan, especially his eyes and brows. I dutifully raised him. In my plan, Ethan would never know he had this son. But I still miscalculated. When Noah was 3 years old, father and son met face to face. I had a close friend in Sea City these past few years. He had a strong End City accent, was very generous with money, was gay, and a bottom. I heard his family had always been pressuring him to marry and have children. His parents had issued an ultimatum that if he didn't bring a girlfriend home this year, they would disown him. He was really scared. After racking his brains for a long time, he actually came to me. He begged me to play the role of his girlfriend, and Noah to play his son. That way, taking them home would solve both the marriage and children pressure at once. Handsome guys always look alike. Looked at closely, your son actually resembles me a bit, especially around the eyes. If we claim he's my son, it should fool quite a few people. Then we'll say I came to Sea City for you, that we already have a child together. Because you didn't want to face the in-laws, I respected your wishes, which is why I never brought you to End City. Jack came to Sea City, clearly to pick up guys. It had nothing to do with me. I naturally didn't want to get involved in this mess. But when he transferred $2 million into my bank account to hire me for this act, I shamefully agreed. I was aloof during my student days. After entering society, I realized how hard it is to earn money, especially when raising a child. Faced with such a huge sum, I truly couldn't refuse. I could only silently apologize to Jack's parents in my heart and took Noah to End City. Jack told me that I just needed to meet his parents, have a meal together, stay in End City for a week, and that would be the task completed. The requirements weren't excessive. I nodded in agreement. When I boarded the plane to End City, I thought of that man. I was afraid I would run into him in End City. But after thinking it over, I felt I was worrying too much. End City had so many people, how could I just happen to meet him? People just don't have that deep a connection. Noah sat obediently beside me. After listening carefully to what I told him to do, he nodded emphatically. "Mommy, don't worry, I remember." I told him we were helping Uncle Jack act out a play. He was smart. He remembered things after being told once. I wasn't worried he would give it away. After arriving in N City, Jack told me his parents had arranged a welcome dinner and invited some relatives and friends. I thought the welcome dinner would be a meal in a private room, but I truly hadn't expected the Duan family to have so many relatives. They had to clear out a large hall for the banquet. I froze in place as soon as I entered. The banquet hall was resplendent, crystal chandeliers casting dazzling light. Amidst the clinking of glasses, luxury was everywhere. Jack whispered to me, "Forgot to tell you, my family has a little money. But don't feel pressured. My parents are just gullible with money. Act normally. We can fool them." It was too late to scold him or back out now. I had to brace myself and go through with it. Noah and I were immediately surrounded by the crowd as soon as we entered. They chattered incessantly, especially Jack's parents, who asked me many questions. Fortunately, Jack and I had rehearsed potential questions beforehand, so I could answer them all. Later on, Jack's parents held Noah, unable to put him down. As soon as I saw this child, I knew he had our family's blood. Look at those eyes and brows. How much they look like Zhao's. Noah was also clever. He called Jack's parents grandpa and grandma, delighting the elderly couple. Things were almost smoothed over. I breathed a sigh of relief and went to the restroom to touch up my makeup. That's when the unexpected happened. Jack sent me a message saying his cousin had also graced the occasion. This cousin was the heir the family was fully cultivating, gradually taking over the family business, holding countless connections and resources. If I could get to know him, it would only benefit me. He urged me to return to the scene quickly, greet the cousin, and not neglect him. So, I patted on some translucent powder and hurried back to the banquet hall. By the time I arrived, his cousin was already there. Wearing a well-tailored dark suit, his posture ramrod straight, his back facing me as he spoke to Jack. I recognized him with just one glance. It was Ethan. I never imagined that Jack's cousin would be Ethan. Seeing him, my mind exploded with a boom. Before I could even adjust my expression, Noah spotted me and excitedly waved. "It's Mommy, Mommy's back." Ethan followed the sound, slowly turned his head, and his gaze landed on me. The moment our eyes met, I felt dazed. Jack quickly walked to my side and introduced me to him. "Cousin, this is my girlfriend, Sophia. She's shy and stubbornly refused to come to N City. It took me a long time to persuade her to come." Then he tugged my sleeve, urging me, "Sophia, why are you frozen? Hurry up and say hello to cousin. 4 years apart, and when we meet again, it's in this kind of situation." Time hadn't left too many marks on Ethan. Besides his aura becoming colder and his jawline a bit more defined, he hadn't changed much. Ethan also looked at me. Those dark eyes were cool and detached, devoid of any emotion. The way he looked at me was no different from looking at a stranger. Right. Back when we broke up, Ethan told me that if we met again, we'd be strangers. But fate didn't cooperate. We met, but strangers we could not be. Under Jack's urging and in front of the Duan family relatives, I had no choice but to nod at him in greeting. "Cousin." This form of address didn't elicit an acknowledgement from Ethan. Instead, his gaze grew even more distant and cold. The atmosphere became subtly tense for a moment. Just then, Noah ran over on his short legs and called out brightly, "Uncle Cousin." He seemed unaware of the pressure emanating from Ethan. He reached out to tug his sleeve. "Uncle Cousin, you are so handsome." Noah was small. He had been standing behind Jack's parents before, so Ethan hadn't seen his face clearly. Now he ran right up to Ethan, looking up at him eagerly. His face, strikingly similar to Ethan's, was fully exposed under the lights. I was horrified and wanted to stop him, but it was too late. Ethan looked down at him, his breath catching, then slowly crouched down until his eyes were level with Noah's. With the two faces side by side, their eyes and brows looked exactly alike, as if cast from the same mold. Jack's mother noticed first, clicking her tongue. "Noah and Shuanson really look alike." Jack's father also looked and nodded. "Indeed. They say nephews resemble uncles. I didn't expect a nephew to resemble his uncle so much." Jack's mother not only said it herself but also called the relatives over to look. "See? Family shares the same face." Truly gullible and wealthy. without a single shred of cunning. I wanted to bring Noah back, but now I was blocked by the crowd.
Amidst the clamor, I heard Ethan soften his tone and gently ask him,
"What's your name?" "Noah." "And you, how old are you?" My heart instantly leaped into my throat. Noah was 3 years old. If he answered truthfully, Ethan would only need to calculate slightly to realize that Noah was conceived while we were dating in Australia, and that Noah was his son. He was so opposed to marriage and children. I didn't know how he would react upon finding out. If possible, I hoped he would never know. Noah reached out to straighten his collar and answered in a childish voice, "I'm almost 3 years old." Hearing this, Ethan lowered his eyes gently and released the hand resting on Noah's shoulder. Almost 3 years old. Judging from the timeline, it couldn't be his child. Jack came forward then, picked up Noah with one hand, put an arm around me with the other, and proudly showed off to Ethan. "Cousin, look, isn't my Sophia pretty? Isn't my son adorable? Now I have both a wife and a son. No more worries about being pressured to marry or have kids." "How about you? Still not married? Seeing me so happy, are you especially envious? Want me to introduce you to someone?" Seeing Ethan's increasingly dark expression, he seemed to remember something and quickly slapped his own mouth. "Ah, cousin, sorry. I forgot you're a commitment-phobe and hate kids." My brain malfunctioned. I shouldn't have spoken nonsense. Ethan didn't respond. He just exchanged a few pleasantries with Jack's parents and left early. From beginning to end, his gaze never lingered on me again. Truly fulfilling that statement. Meeting again as strangers. Noah threw himself into my arms and whispered, "Mommy, did I do well? I remembered everything you told me." Before coming, I had told Noah that if anyone asked his age, he should say he was almost 3, otherwise it wouldn't match the timeline of Jack coming to see City. I ruffled his hair and heard him say, "That uncle cousin just now gave me this." He handed me what was in his palm. It was a square peach-flavored candy. I had a sweet tooth and loved candy. When we were dating, Ethan always carried some candy on him. He didn't eat it himself. It was all for me. I didn't expect that after so many years apart, he still hadn't broken this habit. When the banquet ended around 10 at night, Noah was fast asleep on my shoulder. Jack's parents wanted us to stay at their home, but under Jack's strong persuasion, they agreed to let Noah and me stay at a hotel. They instructed Jack to see us both back. Jack agreed readily, but as soon as we left the hotel, he mysteriously told me, "I've got a date with a hottie tonight, and it's almost time. I probably won't have time to take you back. City is very safe. Can you manage taking Noah back to the hotel yourself?" I knew he was unreliable and hadn't counted on him anyway. Just as I was about to call a ride-hailing service, a Bentley pulled up and stopped in front of me. The window rolled down, revealing Ethan's handsome face. "Get in. I'll take you." I didn't plan to have any further involvement with Ethan. But Jack's brain really wasn't very sharp. He opened the car door directly and pushed Noah and me inside. "Cousin, I have some urgent business. Please help me take Sophia and Noah back to the hotel." After saying that, he slammed the door shut with a bang and rushed off to his date. I wanted to get out, but Ethan locked the doors first and asked me coolly, "Which hotel?" Since things had come to this, refusing was pointless. I gave him the hotel name, and he turned the steering wheel and stepped on the gas. The car was quiet for a while, with only Noah's soft, steady breathing as he slept. I looked at him through the rearview mirror. The dimness obscured his features, only vaguely outlining his exquisite profile and a beautifully curved jawline. I remembered in Australia, Ethan had also driven me around like this. The car was on the road heading towards spring in Tasmania. He put on music, opened the sunroof, letting the wind from the pasture carry the scent of the grassland inside. When passion struck, we kissed fervently, clinging to each other's necks while gasping for breath. Ethan's voice suddenly broke the silence. His tone neither salty nor bland. "Why did you choose Jack?" I pursed my lips, unsure how to answer. Then I heard him say, "Leaving you at the hotel entrance without a care, what urgent matter could be more important than you? If I had a wife and child, no matter how big the issue, I would push it aside. They would always come first." I couldn't help but laugh softly and reminded him, "Ethan, you're a commitment-phobe. You won't have a wife or children." He froze, his face slightly paling. The rest of his words abruptly stopped. When we reached the hotel, I got out carrying Noah. The car became quiet again. He just silently stepped on the gas for the rest of the way. End City wasn't like Sea City. The autumn night was a bit cool. A gust of evening wind blew in, ruffling Noah's hair. The little guy wasn't light. My arms were going numb, and I couldn't hold him forever. Just as I was about to wake him up, I saw Ethan take off his suit jacket and drape it over him, naturally taking over holding him. Noah was half asleep. Opening his eyes and seeing it was Ethan, he didn't shy away but instead snuggled deeper into his arms. Ethan stiffened slightly, his gaze at Noah complex. It looked like helplessness, like affection, and also like regret. He just said softly, "Let him sleep. I'll take him back to the room." He carried Noah into the room, carefully placed him on the bed, and tucked him in. Ethan was a very well-mannered person. He didn't linger in my room. After doing these things, he immediately stepped out. I politely thanked him. He nodded calmly in acknowledgement and turned to leave. I thought this meeting was probably just a small interlude in life. After parting today, we probably wouldn't meet again. Perhaps it was that the person sealed in memory suddenly became vivid again, stirring up long-suppressed feelings. I greedily looked at him a few more times, planning to close the door only after he disappeared from sight. But Ethan took 2 steps, then turned back. "Sophia, I used to really hate children." And then, I looked at him, confused. "But I don't dislike Noah. Because he's your child, I really like him." Noah and I were both visiting End City for the first time. We had carefully researched beforehand and made a full itinerary. Jack had originally said he would accompany us, but early this morning he called. "Sophia, sorry, I've met my true love again. I can't hang out with you today. But don't worry, my cousin is free lately. He promised to take you and Noah around End City." I froze instantly. Before I could refuse, someone called Jack's name on the other end, and he quickly hung up. And Ethan was already waiting for me in the lobby. After thinking, I told him, "Go do your own thing. Noah and I will just wander around. It's fine. I promised Jack I'd look after you these 2 days." I still wanted to refuse. He lowered his gaze slightly, fixing his eyes on me. "I promised long ago to take you sightseeing in End City. Consider this fulfilling that missed promise." After saying this, he took long strides, holding Noah's hand as he walked out. Noah turned back excitedly, waving at me. "Mommy, hurry up and come." Just like that, I got into Ethan's car again. This time, the car had an additional child safety seat. He coughed lightly and explained, "I heard children need this kind of seat. Bought it overnight last night." Noah was very good. He climbed into it himself and buckled his seatbelt. While fastening it, he asked me, "Mommy, are we going to Universal Studios today?" Yes. Noah had been looking forward to Universal Studios for a long time. Holding my hand with one hand and Ethan's with the other, he excitedly roamed around the park. We put on wizard robes and took photos in the wizarding world of Harry Potter, played in the Minion Park, and rode a roller coaster at sunset to see the intense evening glow. Noah was panting from playing. Ethan clumsily wiped his sweat and handed him water. For a moment, I had the illusion that we were an ordinary family of 3. This absurd thought startled even myself. I quickly shook my head to dismiss it. A day of fun made Noah especially fond of Ethan. On the way back, he chatted non-stop with Ethan. "Uncle Cousin, I wish you could come back to Sea City with us." I quickly tapped Noah's head. "Don't say nonsense. It's fine. Children speak freely." Having gotten Ethan's permission, he became bolder, placing his small hand on Ethan's shoulder. "Uncle Cousin, I don't know why, but I feel especially close to you as soon as I see you. I've never had a daddy since I was little. Would you come back to Sea City with me and be my daddy?" As soon as the words were spoken, Ethan's hand on the steering wheel trembled slightly. "Noah, what did you just say?" Noah remembered what I had told him then. He looked at me uneasily, momentarily unsure how to answer. "Sophia, what do you mean by never had a daddy?" I pulled Noah into my arms and explained to him, "Kids speak without thinking, they say whatever comes to mind. You just said yourself, children speak freely, didn't you?" He lifted his gaze to me, his long cool eyes deep pools of ink. After a long while, he suddenly asked, "These past few years, have you been doing well?" "Very well." I lied without changing expression, Jack has a great personality, is good to me and Noah, and we live a very happy life. Jack's call happened to come in at that moment. Perhaps because he had misspoken earlier, Noah was eager to make amends. As soon as the call connected, he shouted at Jack, "Daddy!" The car took a sharp turn at that moment. Ethan pursed his lips tightly, his eyes showing obvious displeasure. "My sweet son, did you miss Daddy?" Jack's tone was also exaggerated, likely because he was with his family. Missed you. Missed Daddy super much." Noah cooperated enthusiastically with his act. Probably to maintain the loving couple image in front of his parents, Jack called out to me, "Sophia."
For the sake of those 2 million, I swallowed my disgust.
Today was too busy. I couldn't take care of you and Noah. Mom and Dad have already scolded me.
I'll make it up to you tomorrow.
Sophia, I love you most, moi. You love me too, right? Come on, give me a kiss. I didn't understand how his mouth could utter such creepy words.
Before I could answer, Ethan coldly interrupted him. "Driving."
"Don't make noise." Jack paused slightly. "Cousin, you're still here? Thanks so much for spending the whole day with my wife and son. Really appreciate it."
Ethan's lips pressed into a line, his eyes icy.
His low voice suppressed anger.
I said don't make noise. Jack, though not the sharpest, could still somewhat read the room and sensed Ethan's bad mood.
He immediately shut up and hung up awkwardly. "Well, you guys chat."
"Sophia, don't make cousin angry. I'll pick you up tomorrow."
After the call ended, no one spoke in the car. Ethan looked stern, his jawline taut, the knuckles of his fair, long fingers prominent as he stepped on the accelerator, speeding up.
He didn't speak again. His gaze was inscrutable, resting on me through the rear-view mirror.
Noah was a child who slept on schedule and was already sound asleep when we reached the hotel.
Ethan skillfully picked him up and carried him back to the room in long strides.
After placing Noah down, he gently ruffled the little guy's hair, then left without lingering, turning to go. This time I couldn't watch him leave because he closed the door directly, blocking my view. He left in a hurry, probably disturbed by hearing Jack and me talk, wanting to avoid further contact. Maybe that was for the best. Let everything return to its original course, each living peacefully. After settling Noah, I was just about to go to bed when my phone rang. An unfamiliar number from N City. After answering, a familiar voice came through the receiver. "Asleep." It was Ethan. I froze slightly. "How did you get my number?" "Ask Jack for it. You left your ID card in my car when you got out today. Want to come get it?" I rummaged through my bag. Indeed, my ID was missing. I had to ask him. "Where are you?" "I'll come find you. Come out." I pushed the door open but didn't see him. Take 2 steps forward. It was baffling, but I did as he said. The surroundings were empty. There was no one. Just then, the door to the adjacent suite suddenly opened. Someone reached out, grabbed my wrist, and pulled me into the room. The world spun. The door closed behind me. Ethan braced one hand against the door, the other pressed firmly against my spine, pinning me between him and the wood, leaving me no retreat. He leaned close to my ear, his voice hoarse. "Sophia, I'm all dressed up. Look at me." I had never seen Ethan like this before. Back in Australia, although we ended up dating shamelessly, outside of bed, Ethan was always cool and restrained. All his abandon was reserved for that 2-meter-wide bed. But now, he wore only a white shirt on top, completely soaked and clinging to him, outlining the contours of his well-developed chest muscles. Water droplets rolled down his high nose bridge, falling onto his prominent Adam's apple. As it bobbed, an overwhelming sense of pressure and raw masculinity exploded in the confined space. I stared, momentarily transfixed. Seizing this moment, he leaned in, took my hand, slid it under his shirt hem, and pressed my palm against his pectoral muscle. Then slowly downward, tracing a circle on his defined fortress-like abs before landing on his sexy V-line. Since returning to China, I had lived a very proper life, rarely even going to bars, let alone touching a man. Maybe it was because I hadn't been subjected to male temptation for so long, but I felt Ethan's physique was even better than 4 years ago. The sensation beneath my palm made me lose focus. I forgot to pull away. "Sophia, didn't you say you got bored? Why is your breathing so ragged?" Your cheeks so flushed. He leaned in, asking softly in my ear, his voice deep, the ending inflection rising. I tried hard to calm my breathing, but his closeness made it increasingly erratic. My body seemed to remember. The moment he approached, instead of rejecting him, I wanted to press closer.
Ethan, where's my ID?
I asked through gritted teeth. He didn't answer my question, just looked down at me. After you said you were bored, I reflected for a long time. I thought maybe I really was dull and uninteresting. Over the years, I've learned a lot. I should be able to keep you feeling fresh for a while. I paused slightly. After understanding his meaning, my face flushed even hotter. What was all this? I forced myself to stay calm and asked him again, "Where's my ID?" His long lashes cast a faint shadow on his eyelids. He looked at me intently, then suddenly pressed his thumb against my lower lip, tracing it heavily. "Sophia, I want to kiss you." My mind turned to mush. Forcing down the turmoil inside, I reminded him,
"Ethan, be reasonable.
I am your cousin's partner." He only gave a light, cold laugh, unmoved. That Jack, apart from his looks, has no redeeming qualities whatsoever.
Could you possibly be interested in him? I nodded against my will. I could be.
But he doesn't seem to like you. If he liked you, why would he leave you to go back alone last night for a date? Why would he stand you up today for a true love?
I froze. How do you know that? Because his date last night was arranged by me.
His tone was light, but there wasn't a hint of a smile in his eyes. I wasn't sure if you two were really together, so I had someone test him. He got exposed immediately. His preferences haven't changed. I didn't plan to expose it this quickly. I wanted to spend more time with you, build feelings.
But he dared to call you wife. Call Noah son. When clearly, you are my wife and child.
Before the words faded, he lowered his head and kissed me without warning. It was a hard kiss. It hurt, making me frown. I tried to pull away, but he tightened his grip on my waist as if trying to embed me into his embrace. My attraction to Ethan was truly physical. When we didn't see each other, it was manageable. But once we met, suppressed feelings instantly erupted, growing wildly into towering trees. My body was more honest than my mind. By the time I realized, I was already clinging tightly to his neck.
Sophia, see? You still have feelings for me. The deep pools of Ethan's eyes churned. Then try me again, won't you? Besides you, I've never had another woman. This body is still completely untouched. Try me again, okay?
His tone was almost pleading.
If it were the me studying abroad, faced with this Ethan, I would have sunk my teeth into him without a second thought. But now I could only force myself to steady my emotions, scrambling for an excuse to refuse him. Don't be like this.
Jack might be fake, but having a son is real. If you do this, my son's father will be angry if he finds out. He stared at me for a moment, then gave a soft, low laugh. Sophia, Noah is my son.
It wasn't a question. His tone was utterly certain. I turned my head away, avoiding his gaze. No, he's not even 3 yet. How could he be your child?
Teaching a child to lie is not good. His eyelashes trembled slightly. I checked. He's clearly over 3 years old. He was conceived in Melbourne, wasn't he? Ethan had investigated Noah's date of birth.
The evidence was conclusive. I had no room to argue.
Yes.
I stopped the futile denial and looked at him seriously. It was wrong of me to hide Noah's existence from you.
But I bore Noah myself, raised him myself. I never planned to use him to demand anything from you. We've lived well these past few years. After returning to Sea City, I promise we won't disturb your life. Just pretend he never existed. Is that okay? Ethan seemed slightly taken aback by my words, frowning. How do you know I don't want to acknowledge this child? What if I want him in my life?
But Ethan, have you forgotten? I looked at him, reminding him.
I asked you what you would do if you had a child. Back then, you answered without hesitation that you wouldn't let anyone have your child.
If it happened, you'd have it aborted.
Ethan paused slightly. Recalling the conversation, he finally reacted. So, you were already pregnant back then? Yes. My constitution is special. It's very hard for me to conceive. If I aborted him, I might never have my own child. So I wanted to keep him. Since the topic had been broached, it was time to lay everything out. But you didn't want that, so we could only break up. Ethan, I liked you very much. The bored excuse was made up on the spot, just so I could leave with some dignity. I broke up with you because I was afraid that if you knew about the pregnancy, you'd use your connections to force me into an abortion. I come from a humble background, incomparable to yours. I was also afraid your family would accuse me of forcing a child to marry into wealth. Sometimes people can have no face. Other times, they guard their dignity fiercely. I took a deep breath, pouring out everything I should and shouldn't say. And you're a commitment-phobe and child-free. My choice is different from yours, but I respect your life plan. Some contradictions are irreconcilable. It's better to go our separate ways. Ethan, just pretend this interlude never happened. I'll take Noah back in a few days. I'm sorry for disrupting your plans. I'll minimize the impact on you as much as possible. Some sentence must have struck Ethan. He pursed his lips, lowered his gaze, and didn't speak again. Forget the ID. I turned the doorknob and ran out. This time, Ethan didn't stop me. He just silently watched me leave, head bowed, eyes dim, lost in thought. After returning, I realized my lips were numb, my body weak, and my face in the mirror was flushed red. My heart was still pounding wildly. We just shouldn't have met. Long-suppressed feelings surged wildly again. Impossible to suppress instantly. Only time could smooth it over. The next day, Jack came to pick up Noah and me early. More accurately, he came to pick up Noah. I didn't know what happened, but he looked at me somewhat evasively. Every time I moved closer to him, he backed away as if avoiding the plague. Hey, don't come closer. Men and women shouldn't be too familiar. I'm taking Noah out to play today. I'll bring him back to you tomorrow. I was baffled. What are you talking about? I'm definitely coming too. You don't have time today. You have other important matters. As he spoke, the elevator door opened. He grabbed Noah's hand and bolted. I was bewildered. Just as I was about to follow, I unexpectedly saw Ethan walking over. I had him take Noah out to play. Let's talk alone. But hadn't we already said everything yesterday? I didn't understand what else there was to say. He looked at me, coughed lightly, opened his briefcase, and inside was a thick stack of papers. Over the years, I've been seeing a therapist. These are my medical records. You can look at them. But he didn't hand them to me immediately, saying he wanted to take me somewhere first. Ethan took me to a villa district. Backed by mountains, facing water, numerous houses were scattered in orderly rows. Do you live here? I asked him. He shook his head, pointing to one villa. Outside was an open garden. A middle-aged man lay on a rocking chair, a woman fanning him beside him. That's my father, Ethan told me. Is that your mother beside him? I instinctively asked. No, that's my father's mistress. Ethan said this without any change in tone. See this villa district? The first 2 rows, 8 villas in total, were all bought by my father for his mistresses. The youngest mistress is younger than me. Rich people sure knew how to play. I didn't know how to respond. After thinking, I said, your mother must be quite sad then. You should spend more time with her. No. Surprisingly, Ethan shook his head, pointing to the back 3 rows. My mother also has lovers. Her current favorite is still in college. The back few rows are for her lovers. I was dumbfounded. My parents had a marriage of convenience. All marriages in their circle are like this. Just to produce a child carrying both families' bloodlines. Once born, the task is complete, and they can each do as they please. So for as long as I can remember, my parents' male and female companions have been constant. They never came home, just left me with the nanny. When I was little, I envied the security guard's son. His parents adored him, saving all the best treats and toys for him, even picking him up from school. Once when he was sick, his parents stayed by his side all night, deeply concerned. Not like me. Every time I got sick, only the nanny was there. My parents despised each other. Every meeting ended in explosive arguments. As a child, I couldn't understand why they made marriage like this, why they had a child but refused to raise him properly. Over time, I grew averse to marriage, loathed children. It was a physical revulsion. An autumn breeze blew, lifting the hair from his forehead. He tilted his head slightly, his gaze fixed on me, changing the subject. Actually, that day you ran up to me at the Great Ocean Road and asked for my contact. My heartbeat inexplicably raced. Reason told me not to fall in love. Since I didn't want to marry, I shouldn't lead girls on. So I didn't reply to any of your messages. But every good morning and good night, every trivial life update, every forced conversation starter, I read each one multiple times. At the mixer, seeing you laugh and chat with another man, I knew I couldn't control my feelings for you. I wanted to be close, yet didn't dare to possess you, afraid of ruining you. I knew I had psychological issues. I never considered treatment before, but after meeting you, I wanted to become normal. He handed me the thick stack of papers. Inside were records of his psychological treatment. Ethan had therapy sessions 2 or 3 times a week. The stranger's talk at the breakup was just anger. These 4 years, I've been actively treating myself, diligently learning new tricks.
Sophia, I never gave up on you.
I apologize for what happened 4 years ago. But even back then, if I'd known you were pregnant, I couldn't have borne to make you abort. I would have tried to accept a new life coming into the world. Perhaps different upbringings shaped different characters. Ordinary people envy the luxury of the wealthy. Some wealthy people yearn for the warmth of ordinary families. What was commonplace for me became a complex for him. Would you like to see the results of my treatment? He asked me. Curious, I nodded. He led me to the car.
He leaned over to fasten my seatbelt. His scent suddenly enveloped me.
His kiss followed like spring rain, leaving me no room to resist. I even instinctively tilted my head to meet it. I don't know how long we kissed.
When I was breathless, leaning against his chest, he pressed his thumb against the corner of my lips, stating firmly,
Sophia, you still like me. I did still like him. After all, once you've seen the ocean, it's hard to settle for less. His hardware was too superior. Once we met, this liking couldn't be hidden. Good. I like you too. Ethan drove straight to the Civil Affairs Bureau. I froze.
Though I had guessed his intention, I still asked, why are we here?
Because Noah wants a father, and I want a wife. I laughed despite myself. But aren't you a commitment-phobe? But you are the exception to my commitment phobia. Because of you, I really want to get married now. Even though my mind was reeling, I remained seated in the passenger seat, reminding him. Our family backgrounds don't match. You said it yourself, your circle practices arranged marriages. Ethan seemed amused by my words. I'm different. First, I've taken over the family business now. I don't need to follow these stupid rules. Second, someone like me, a commitment phobe, willing to marry and even having a child. My parents would be grateful to you. How could they possibly oppose? The obstacles between us seemed to vanish suddenly. He only asked me one thing. Sophia, do you still want me? As he spoke, his features were as stunning as our first meeting. Years of experience added a touch of noble bearing. Youthful spirit and maturity intertwined, making it impossible to look away.
I followed my heart and nodded. Yes. But I didn't bring my ID.
He smiled, pulling me out of the car. I brought it for you. Come on, let's get our marriage license. After we get the license, will we pick up Noah later? Ethan looked back at me, smiling softly. He leaned in and whispered huskily in my ear. I've arranged everything for Noah. Jack will have someone take good care of him. It's been so long since we met. We should catch up. I really have learned many new things. Come test my progress. At least, I can guarantee you won't get bored of me for 5 years. Only then did I understand why Jack emphasized tomorrow when he took Noah from me. Fortunately, Noah wasn't fussy about beds or needed much soothing. In the autumn wind stirring in End City, Ethan stood at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau, extending his hand to me. Regardless of the road ahead, I would follow my heart now. So I placed my hand into his palm.